Hi everyone, thank you for joining me at K Warner Studio. Today I have had a request to make a 5x7 shadow box, and so here are the instructions. This is what the finished product will look like. I've widened the view, and when I start to put it together I will bring you closer, but for now, so that everybody can have a close look at the scoring and all of that, I think it's best if I have a wider view. And so I know this is done on white. Now I will tell you that this is narrower than my last video, and I've learned not to do the scoring on the white. As I mentioned to everybody that complains, that was my first video, and I've learned a few things since then, and so I've changed the color of the paper. So here we go, and I'll show you. The inside measurement from the inside here is 7, and this one is 5. So off we go. Now, I've also found that the scoring tool, if it's wide, use the narrow end. So for me, I have, this is the Stampin' Up! One, I believe. Yes, and it has two ends, a more wider and a narrower. So use a narrow end because it makes a tighter fit. Also, this is a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and you will need to trim it to 10 by 12. So I have one of these tonic trimmers. I mean, I have an assortment of trimmers, but I happen to be using the tonic one right at this moment. So I am going to cut this down one way to 10. So here's my 10, as you can see, and I'm just going to give that a trim. So there we go. The scoring is the same on all four sides. So here we go. So our first mark is going to be at 1/2 of an inch, and 1/2 inch increments. Okay, so we have a 1/2 inch, small end here. Make sure it's butt right up against the edge of your scoring tool. So here we have the 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inches. Turn and do the same thing. 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, and 2. Rotate to the third side, 1/2 inch, oops, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and finally 2. And our last side. So we have 1/2 inch, oops, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, and 2. Now on this longer end, on both sides, you will have to add 2 more score marks to each long edge. So this is your longest dimension inside here, and currently that space is 8 inches. So you want your 8-inch edge, which would be your 12-inch piece of paper. So we're going to go in a 1/2 inch on each side. So down to the second score line, right there. And then on this end, we're going to come over a 1/2 inch. And that measurement is 9.5 inches if you want to do it that way. I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees and do the same thing on the next. So this is 12-inch piece of cardstock up against the edge of your scoreboard, and we're going to go at 2.5 inches and mark down to the second score line, and over here to 9.5, or a 1/2 inch in towards the left-hand side if you're using some other kind of scoring method. So that's that. We'll finish scoring. Now take a pair of long blade scissors that are sharp I'm going to use a pair of Fiskars. Now, you can use the tonic ones. I just do not happen to like a serrated edge on something that I'm going to be using. So, here are the extra score marks. We're not going to cut on that section, so at the 10.5-inch position, you're going to come down to this score line here, and you're going to cut right up to the end of the score marks at the edge of this one, and cut right up to here on this one. And you're going to do it the same on both sides of the cardstock. So I like to cut on the opposite side of the score mark, so I put my scissors in on the left hand side of this mark, and then over here I put it on the right hand section of this mark all the way to the score line. So your fourth and final score line, and give it a cut. And we're going to rotate the other end 180 degrees, and we're going to repeat the same process. So right up to the score line. And the same on this side. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of fancy work here. So I'm going to bring this in a little closer. Whoops, that's more narrow. Okay, so here we are. So with this cut, we're going to cut this one here. We're going to cut up to this second mark, and then we're going to cut our scissors from that corner to this corner, so a kitty corner, and then we're going to continue to cut up on the score line, and this little section here will come up, will be gone. So let's do that. I'm going to come up to the score mark. I'm going to position it in a kitty corner, and cut from corner to corner, just like that. Whoops, just like that. And then trim it up on the score line, and it'll meet where we've already cut, and it'll fall right off. And I'll repeat that over here because I didn't have you in the best view. So we're going to come up at the score line, and from that edge to this corner, kitty corner, we're going to chop it from corner to corner right here. We're going to come up to the score line to where our last cut ended, and there we are. So that's what it looks like. I can get that all in the shot. Just a second now. Oh, there. That's what it's going to look like when it's complete. Okay, so now we're going to go to this side and do the same thing. Cut up. Slice it kitty corner. So cut from corner to corner on a diagonal, and then trim it up along the score line, and that piece will just come right out. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to cut corner to corner. There we go. And then we're going to trim along this score line right up to where we trimmed last. That's it. Now try to have this straight, because this is going to be your edge when you're finished. Okay, so I'm happy with all of those except this one here. I could have been a little neater. There we go. Now we need to burnish all of the score lines and fold over the mountain. It makes for a better finish. So your mountain's on this side, so we're going to fold over it. So do want to make sure they fold straight. And you need double-sided adhesive for this too. I found that that's the only way I can do them, but you may be better at it than I. I'm waiting for my glass mat to come. They've been shorted from Tonic for months, and we've gotten word from Scrap and Stamp that they should be coming in the next bit, so hopefully. I know I need a replacement mat, but I don't want to get another one where I've already have one coming. Now, if you wanted to put a pattern on a plain piece of paper, stamp the reverse side first. Okay, so here's what it looks like, all burnished. So now we're going to flip this over, and we're going to apply tape up to as far to the score line as you can get without going over it. So here's my tape, and I'm going to put this down here, and I will have to trim it off because I know you're supposed to be able to trim it, but I make a heck of a mess when I do that. So I'm just going to trim line, and all four sides are the same way. The tape goes up as far as you can get to the score line on each end. On the first one, first score mark, and that's it. So not an over amount of adhesive has to be used, and you don't really have to use a very thick score tape or a double-sided tape. Just one that sticks well. Whoops, kind of went up a little too far on that one. There we go. And then this will be my last one. Now we have a couple more places to put tape on the other side, so now you flip it back over, and then you just need to put tape on this edge here, on all four of them. It doesn't matter if you go over on the score lines, just don't go over the edge on your tape, because it will show. I would suggest to do one or two of these, or maybe one as a rough copy, a rough go with maybe paper you're not all that fond of. Okay, so here we go. So your edges with the angles are not the ones you're going to work on right now. You're going to work on the shorter flaps. So you're going to remove the tape, the whole one. Okay, so what you do is you fold it in half, so you have a double thickness here, this one and the one underneath. You make sure you have those tight. Put your middle finger or your index finger on the bottoms. Make sure that stays tucked under and fold it over and press, keeping the edges on each one straight. And then that should pop up. And as you can see inside, this is tight against the side. Okay, so then we're going to go do the next one. Rotate it 180 degrees and remove the backing on the short side. Fold it up so you have two rows, 1, 2, with a finger keeping the edges down into the bottom. You fold it over. Make sure this is straight and this is straight, and press. And you can see with this side, it's in there good and tight again. Now we're going to come over here, and with this one you fold these over so you have a little tag that's sticking out on this side too. Okay, now we're going to remove this backing, and on this one you just fold it one. So you bend that down here, and you're going to come up 2 lines so that this tape is going to come up here. So you fold it so we have two lines, 2 sections here, right here, and then you press down, making sure these are up against the side. And then you come here, remove that little piece from the inside, release paper, and get a hold of it. There we go. And now, if you have to fold this down, it's perfectly alright. You make sure you have a tight corner here, and then you press. Now we're going to come over to this side, move this backing, bend this down, bring this up, make sure your corner's tight in here on this edge, and press. So that's one side done. Now we're going to come over here. We're going to bend this over just like the last time, so you have something to pull up later on each side. And remove this backing. Fold this over so it's only 1 column deep, and then fold this up so you have 2 columns here, and then press down, keeping your sides against the side. Okay, now we're going to get your pokey tool in there if you have to. We're going to bend this down and this up, and I can get my release paper. It's kind of moved back. Oops, I'll get it. Persistence pays. There we go. Bend it over and this one up. Match up your corners and press down. Now we're going to come over here, remove this backing, put this one down, this one up, and match your corners and press. And there we have it. That is your 5x7 shadow box. Now I will measure this, and hopefully everything comes out 5x7. So it's finished. So this is the one we made now, and this is the one I made a few moments ago. The white's kind of screwing around with it. But there you go. That's how it is. So thank you for your request, and I hope you have fun making it, and please let me know how you do. Bye-bye.